First day at college. My name is Emily Carter. I am 18 years old, and I grew up in a small town near Portland, Oregon. I had always dreamed about going to college in a big city. So when I got accepted into a university in Boston, Massachusetts, my heart filled with excitement and fear at the same time. It was a bright September morning when I stepped onto the campus for the first time. The trees were painted with early autumn colors, red, orange, and gold. Students were walking everywhere, carrying books, laughing, and talking about their new classes. Everything felt new and overwhelming. I was wearing a simple blue dress and holding my class schedule tightly in my hand. My first class was Introduction to Literature. I checked the building number 3 times because I was so nervous. What if I got lost? What if I couldn't make new friends? As I hurried toward the classroom, I accidentally bumped into someone. "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry," I said quickly, looking up. Standing in front of me was a tall boy with warm brown eyes and a gentle smile. He was holding a stack of books, and one of them had fallen to the ground. "It's okay," he said softly. "First day chaos, right?" I smiled nervously. "Yeah, I guess so." "I'm Jake," he said, offering his hand. "Emily," I replied, shaking it. To my surprise, he was also going to Introduction to Literature. We decided to walk together. As we entered the classroom, I felt a little less nervous. Sitting beside him made everything feel easier. During the lecture, I noticed he took careful notes and sometimes whispered funny comments about the professor's dramatic reading style. I try not to laugh too loudly. For the first time that day, I felt relaxed. After class, Jake asked, "Do you want to grab coffee? There's a small cafe near the campus." My heart skipped a beat. Was this really happening on my first day? "Sure," I said, trying to sound calm. We walked to the cafe and talked for almost 2 hours. I told him about growing up near Portland, about my love for books and rainy days. He told me he was from Chicago and wanted to become a writer someday. There was something easy about talking to him. It felt natural, like we had known each other for years. Over the next few weeks, Jake and I kept meeting, studying together in the library, walking through the campus park, sharing stories about our dreams. Slowly, my first day nervousness turned into something beautiful. One evening, as we sat on a bench watching the sunset paint the sky pink and purple, Jake looked at me and said, "You know, I'm really glad you bumped into me that day." I laughed softly. Me too. That was the moment I realized something important. College wasn't just about classes or grades. It was about new beginnings, unexpected friendships, and sometimes unexpected love. My first day at college was the start of a new chapter in my life. And in that chapter, there was a boy named Jake, a city full of dreams, and a heart learning how to fall in love for the very first time. The days slowly turned into weeks, and Boston began to feel less like a strange city and more like home. The cold autumn air, the sound of students laughing across campus, and the golden leaves falling from the trees became part of my daily life. But something else was becoming part of my life too. Jake. We started studying together almost every afternoon. At first, it was just about homework and assignments. But soon, our study sessions turned into long conversations about our childhood memories, our fears, and our dreams. One rainy evening, the kind that reminded me of Portland, I sat by the dorm window watching the drops fall against the glass. My phone buzzed. "Jake, Are you free? I'm outside your dorm. My heart raced. I grabbed my sweater and hurried downstairs. There he was, standing under a black umbrella, his hair slightly wet from the rain. You're crazy, I said, smiling. It's raining. I know, he replied, but I thought maybe you'd want to take a walk. A walk? In the rain? Trust me. I don't know why, but I trusted him. We walked slowly across campus. The rain wasn't heavy, just soft and peaceful. The streetlights reflected on the wet ground, making everything look magical. Suddenly, Jake stopped. Emily, he said quietly. The way he said my name made my heart beat faster. I've never met someone like you, he continued. You make everything feel lighter, even the first day of college. I felt my cheeks grow warm. Jake, I know it's only been a few weeks, he said, stepping closer, but I really like you. The world seemed to pause. The rain, the wind, the distant sounds of cars, everything faded. I really like you too, I whispered. He smiled in a way that made my heart melt. Gently, he brushed a small strand of hair away from my face. For a moment, we just looked at each other. And then, under that soft September rain, Jake kissed me. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't like in the movies. It was simple, sweet, real. That night, as I lay in bed, I realized something had changed inside me. College wasn't just a new place anymore. It was the place where I had found someone who made my heart feel alive. But I didn't know then that love, even the sweetest kind, would soon be tested. Because sometimes the hardest part of falling in love isn't the beginning. It's what comes next. For a while, everything felt perfect. Jake and I were inseparable. We studied together, had late-night pizza in the dorm lounge, and spent weekends exploring the city. Sometimes we walked along the Charles River, talking about our future. He wanted to write novels. I wanted to become a journalist. We promised to support each other's dreams. But as October turned into November, things slowly began to change. Jake started getting busier. He joined the college writing club and began spending long evenings working on a short story for a competition. I was proud of him, truly proud. But I couldn't ignore the small ache in my chest when he canceled our plans again and again. It's just for a few days, he would say. This contest is important. I understand, I always replied. And I did understand. At least, I thought I did. One afternoon, I walked into the campus library earlier than usual. I was looking for Jake because we had planned to study together. As I moved between the shelves, I saw him sitting at a table near the window. He wasn't alone. A girl with long blonde hair was sitting across from him. They were leaning close together, laughing at something on his laptop. I froze. My heart felt heavy and cold at the same time. I told myself not to overthink. Maybe she was just a classmate. Maybe they were working on the competition together. But when I saw her gently touch his arm while laughing, something inside me broke. I quietly turned around and left before he could see me. That night, Jake called me 3 times. I didn't answer. Finally, he sent a message. Emily, did I do something wrong? Tears filled my eyes as I typed back. You seemed busy. A few minutes later, there was a knock on my dorm door. I opened it, and there he was, looking confused and worried. Emily, what's going on? He asked softly. I tried to stay calm. but my voice shook. Who is she? Who? The girl in the library. His eyes widened. Then he sighed. Her name is Hannah. She's in the writing club. We're working on the competition together. Why didn't you tell me? I whispered. Because it didn't seem important, he replied. Emily, she's just my teammate. I looked down at my hands. It didn't feel like just a teammate. For a moment, there was silence. Then Jake stepped closer. I would never hurt you, he said firmly. You're the best thing that happened to me on my first day here. His words felt sincere. But trust, I realized, is fragile, especially when your heart is still new to love. I need honesty, I said quietly, even about small things. He nodded. You have it. I promise. That night, we didn't fix everything perfectly, but we talked, really talked, about jealousy, about fear, about how new and scary love can be. And as he held my hand, I understood something important. Love isn't just about sweet rain kisses and sunsets. It's also about trust, communication, and choosing each other, even when things feel uncertain. Our story wasn't perfect, but maybe that's what made it real. After that night, things between Jake and me became calmer, but more serious. We both understood that love wasn't just about feelings anymore. It was about effort. Jake made sure to include me in his busy schedule. Sometimes I would sit beside him during writing club meetings. That's when I properly met Hannah. She was friendly, confident, and surprisingly kind. My jealousy slowly faded, replaced by a little embarrassment. I've heard so much about you, Hannah said with a smile. Jake won't stop talking about Emily from Portland. I glanced at Jake. He looked shy for once. And just like that, a weight lifted from my heart. A week later, the day of the writing competition arrived. Jake was nervous. I could see it in the way he kept checking his phone and tapping his fingers on the table. You're going to win, I said, squeezing his hand. It's not about winning, he replied. It's about proving to myself that I can really do this. That evening, the results were announced at a small event on campus. The room was filled with students and professors. My heart was beating almost as fast as Jake's. And the first prize goes to... There was a short pause. Jake Miller. The room filled with applause. I jumped up before I even realized what I was doing. Jake looked shocked for a second, and then his eyes found mine in the crowd. He walked onto the stage, smiling nervously. After receiving the certificate, he stood in front of the microphone. I just want to say one thing, he began. I wrote this story during my first semester here. It's about new beginnings. And I wouldn't have written it without someone who changed my first day completely. My breath caught. She bumped into me on our very first day of college, he continued, smiling. And since then, she's been my inspiration. The entire room turned to look at me. My face burned red. Emily, he said gently into the microphone. Thank you for believing in me. I felt tears in my eyes, but this time, they were happy tears. Later that night, we walked back across campus. The air was cold, but his hand in mine felt warm. I meant every word, he said quietly. I know, I whispered. He stopped walking and looked at me seriously. I don't know what the future holds. Maybe internships. Maybe different cities someday. But right now, I choose you. Those 3 words echoed in my heart. I choose you too, I replied. Under the soft campus lights, I realized something beautiful. My first day at college didn't just give me new classes, new dreams, or a new city. It gave me love. Not a perfect love, but a growing one. And sometimes that's even better. Winter came quickly to Boston. Snow covered the campus in soft white layers, and the Charles River looked like a painting under the gray sky. Finals week arrived, and everything became stressful again. Late night studying, coffee cups everywhere, and barely any sleep. But Jake and I had changed. We were stronger now. We studied side by side in the library, sometimes without speaking for hours. Yet even in silence, I felt close to him. Love, I realized, isn't always about dramatic moments. Sometimes it's about quiet support. One evening, after finishing my last exam, I walked outside and saw snow gently falling from the sky. Students were laughing, throwing snowballs, celebrating the end of the semester. Jake ran toward me, his cheeks red from the cold. "You survived," he said, lifting me slightly off the ground. "So did you." I laughed. He put me down but didn't let go of my hands. "Emily, I've been thinking." That sentence again. The serious voice. "My parents want me to come back to Chicago for the summer, and I got an internship offer there." My heart dropped slightly. "That's amazing," I said, forcing a smile. "But it means I'll be away for 3 months." 3 months. It suddenly felt like a very long time. "I don't want distance to change us," he said quietly. I looked at him. The boy I met by accident on my first day. The boy who kissed me in the rain. The boy who chose me. "Distance doesn't change real feelings," I said softly. "It tests them." He stepped closer. "Then let's promise something." "What?" "No matter how busy we get, no matter how far we talk, we're honest, and we fight for this." I nodded. "We fight for this." He smiled and pulled me into a warm hug while snow fell around us. The months passed. Long phone calls at night, video chats, messages in the middle of the day. It wasn't always easy. Sometimes we missed each other so much it hurt, but we kept our promise. And when summer ended, I stood at the airport waiting for his flight to land. Just like that first day of college, my heart was racing. When I saw him walking toward me, carrying his bag and smiling the same familiar smile, I knew something for sure. Our story didn't begin because it was perfect. It began because 2 nervous freshmen met by accident and decided to choose each other again and again. College was only the first chapter, and this time I wasn't afraid of what came next. Because love, I learned, isn't about the first day. It's about every day after that.